2 hours after the Pudding King's horrible surprise. Flames flicker and begin to smolder. Smoke no longer clogs the now mostly empty tunnels and halls of Blingdenstone. However, the half-digested forms of dozens of innocent denizens now lay strewn about. Occasional screams and yelps are heard in the distance, echoing to the unfortunate ears of those hiding as best they can. Footfalls and hurried breath as one individual runs about the corners echo about the space. Looking back over their shoulder, we see a large, red, oozing form launching pseudopods to drag its form ahead. The sickening squelch as its mass peels and sticks again to the walls farther up. This poor gnome races onward, trying to find any place where they might find shelter. They reach for door handles, we hear it jiggling and see that it is locked. A huddled family inside shrinks back from the door as they see and hear the outsider's shadow and their cries of help that pierce their ears. With no luck, the outsider hurries once again down the corridor, hearing the relentless march of the red ooze gaining upon them. Frantically, they sprint from a hall opening ahead, and as they break from the dark tunnel, they see the reception hall ahead. The labyrinth's iron doors stand open as Senny Diggermatics, an elderly human man, and an animal-like individual finish destroying another ooze with fire, halberd, and nails. "Help! Help me, please!" Our gnome friend calls forth, and Senny's head whips to attention and stares at the figure. "Run!" And she points to the labyrinth. "Quickly, there's shelter in..." Her voice drops, and a scream then issues forth. "Run!" The paused figure coming from the hall looks back only to see the numerous tendrils of that red ooze leap from the tunnel, grasping at the walls and hurling its girth forward as a wrecking ball. We see this gnome begin sprinting as fast as they can, with the ooze not far behind. Senny can hardly believe her eyes at the madness before her. Yet, she has seen the scene again and again within the last day. These oozes, which she would have once before considered only minor threats, now act with far greater haste and intelligence than before. Something more akin to a predator. One capable of finding ways into the tightest spaces and replacing their loved ones. She stops that train of thought and screams to the young gnome running in her direction, and she recognizes them now. Underneath all the soot and scratches is Lionel Emberbright, a promising young man with an affinity for alchemy and spelljam. With horror, she sees that not only does a large dragon blood ooze chase Lionel, but issuing forth from the many other tunnels come more black puddings, gray oozes, and the like. She realizes with horror that another wave is coming. She pushes the older man, who she now knows as Sefel, and the odd half-reptilian child who calls himself Vlad, back towards the gates to the maze. She whirls about and holds out her hand in the direction of Lionel. "Run like you've never run before, Lionel!" He pumps his arms and legs as fast as he can, his eyes squinting, tears streaming back from on his face, his mouth open in a scream of terror at what comes for him. Leaping forth over fallen friends, family, and other members, he scurries. He reaches forward, still running, the ooze amassing behind him like a putrid tidal wave. "Senny!" he screams, and in slow motion we see him leaping forward towards her. She stands poised to pull him through the now closing gates. His fingertips touch hers, sliding forth into her hand in her grasp as she begins to tighten hers. Then we see it. A large black tendril reaches down like a whip and wraps about his waist. His face blanches. She pulls him closer as the tendril draws upwards. "No, no, no!" As Lionel screams, Senny herself crying out as well as he disappears upwards, torn from her grip. She's pulled kicking and screaming inwards by a handful of guards as they slam the gate shut and clog every crevice with any means possible. She now sits to the side of the door as her guards brace it against the force of the oozes beyond. She looks up, her darkened face now cut with the path of her tears. And into the many towers, bridges, and barricades that make up the labyrinth within this large cavern, she sees the few hundred families and friends she's barely been able to save. And they stare back in solemn silence at her, wondering how they'll survive. However, in a forge not too far from the city, we see Hestor and Scylla and Friend helping up the now slightly revived Starcaller from his feet with an open chest beside him. What do you guys do?
I found the stuff. I got it open. It was pretty hard. You can thank me later.
Starcaller, you are in very bad shape. What happened?
Oh, that's not nice. I'm sure he exercises plenty.
Oh, that is not what I meant. I was referring to his, current state.
Oh, yeah, no, he looks like shit.
Yes.
I do a lot of calisthenics. However, they did not prevent me from falling victim to my one weakness. A trapped treasure chest.
Oh, so it was not the genie that did this to you.
No, didn't even see him, honestly.
That is quite unfortunate.
Yeah,
Yes.
Pretty lucky for him, because I would have killed him. You guys killed him, right?
Well, something akin. And Hestor pulls the now sealed gem out of his breast pocket and twirls it up in the air, catching it again.
Oh, that's good.
What a rather odd device you have there, Hestor. What is this contraption?
I can't speak to its... can't speak to its craftsmanship without further looking into it, but it seems to be the canister that the Ifrit was trapped within, and I was able to do so again.
Ah, fascinating. Starcaller, do you require more healing?
I mean, that would be great, or we could just spend the next 8 to 10 hours not moving. That would also be great.
I do not believe we have that luxury, but...
Why not? I mean, we're just bringing back Friend here to administer to the Gold Whisker group. They're not going anywhere.
It seems to be a bad spot here, but I am open to suggestions if you disagree.
I mean, if you guys took care of the Ifrit, I mean, what's there to stop us?
I mean, I have to say I'm torn, because I agree, I would love to sit and rejuvenate myself and maybe see what this gem in the Ifrit inside meant to the forge. I feel like we're not done here, but at the same time, I don't like leaving my colony longer than we have to with the current state they're in.
It is true, you have been quite anxious to return to them. I do have my rod here, Caller, that could heal you a bit.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't mind using it, I certainly won't say no.
I certainly can.
And she has a staff of healing, and
Nice.
so she's got some cure wounds. Did anybody else get injured? Because she has access to mass cure wounds as well.
Hestor is at about half right now.
Okay.
I'm good.
Scylla, you're untouched.
Mm-hmm.
And Artemis, you're basically down all the way. Let's
I
Yeah,
will
I
say,
have-
though,
I have 1 hit point.
I
Go ahead.
am exhausted 2 levels still.
Oh god, that's right.
Yeah. I think this is a great conversation. You guys have pushed for basically a day and a half without stopping. As I do remember having you all make some checks before. I think Hestor and Starcaller passed. Scylla was the only one that didn't.
I passed the first one, but I did fail the second, so I'm also exhausted.
Yeah.
I'm
First
2
level.
levels because of there was the going around the big thing that
Yeah, and that
Starcaller ran around,
level-
and then also the Dreamer.
Level 2 slows you, right?
Yeah, I'm half speed and
Ugh.
disadvantage on ability checks. And half speed does suck.
Yeah, I mean, ability checks is bad enough, but I do think that we probably should try to remedy as much of that as we can.
Yeah, friend, can you heal exhaustion? Like, I'm very tired. Can you make me not tired?
Let me see.
I don't think there's anything for that, to be honest.
I
Yeah,
think-
lesser restoration doesn't do anything.
It'll need a greater restoration,
Yeah,
I think.
greater does.
Let me see if she's got that. She does have access to 4th level spells.
I think greater is a 5th.
Oh, I did not level her up. That's another thing I didn't do. But currently she does not have access to that magic. She's like,
I am sorry, I do not have the means to draw upon nature to cure you.
I would be inclined for us to... I could be persuaded.
Let's just take a nice little nappy.
It seems like the colony's gonna have to wait 1 day more. I don't like it, but
Well, how long?
God forbid anything happens and we aren't up to the task.
Yeah, we also have to, like, get back, right? So...
Yeah.
And you don't know how long that could take. It could take
Right.
a while. It could take very little time. You're not entirely sure.
Yeah,
So-
hopefully with friends' help and my rangerness, we could cut down the time a little bit, but even still.
But, like...
I think this calls for a long rest.
Yeah, because unfortunately, if we want to move quickly, like, I'm not going to move quickly
Yeah.
at half speed. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, we at least need to get rid of that level of exhaustion.
Mhm.
So I imagine there's quite a bit of back and forth within this ancient bedroom of Leary Skyforger, where you're all like, it's back and forth of, well, we need to push on, we need to get back, you know, who knows what could be happening. We have this whole mediation that we have to watch over, while Scylla, Starcaller, and Friend, who's actually a little bit injured as well, are kind of like, you know, we can, but we're hurting here, and you still have to make it through the tunnels to make it back there, and who knows what could jump out at you. So it sounds like eventually you guys settle on taking a long rest. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think the conversation continues for a while, and then Scylla just falls asleep mid-conversation, and everyone's like, well,
She's like, well, I really
Sure.
think what we should do.
yeah.
Well, it looks like we might sleep. Perhaps you can solve the mystery of the forge.
Friend is like already in a cat form on Scylla's lap.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the intelligence of the group will carry on. I do think Hestor wants to sort of make sure they've covered all their bases. Is there anything in this bedchamber that we've stumbled upon that gives more insight into the workings of the forge, the gem, like that whole situation?
Roll either perception or investigation check for me.
Gotta go with that perception.
Perception, bro.
Okay, all right down the middle. We got a 16.
A 16. All right. You find on the left-hand side of the room, what would be the west to kind of like the listeners, is there's a couple smashed like old bookshelves, and from it you can actually see that there are some burned and singed journals and books. Some are just on different forms of metallurgy and forging, casting, all sorts of stuff, proper treatment of arms and armors and different things like that. A couple of the things that you spot out is that there's a few books that talk about the use of using spell gems to power different types of objects, or imbuing magic with the use of runes or glyphs within different objects to kind of operate on their own or give one control over something that they automate. However, as for the actual trappings of the forge room, you find a few scraps of paper that make note that one of the discoveries that she had made that made her forge rather particularly amazing was that she found a number of gems that radiated heat. And what she did is she buried them in the base of the forge. And that with a hot enough heat source, it would cause them to ignite and burn for hundreds of years. And then anything that was like thrown atop it to use as like traditional coal for forging and stuff like that would actually refine it in a far greater process than just about anybody had been able to replicate. So her forge is, in mechanical terms, anything you make upon it is automatically of +1 variety. It is just immediately that much better. And that also goes for armor. She had, you remember back in the forge room, there were a number of workbenches and sharpening, like whetstones, and other stuff that you, through kind of like reading through, she talks about how she used the different tools and chisels and whatnot to imbue runic meanings that then gave further power. However, you then eventually come across something that was kind of like tucked away in the back of a journal. It falls out at one point. And it's this kind of folded up, very old piece of like parchment. And you pull it apart and you see it's a diagram. And it's for an extremely large looking construct. Semi-humanoid in nature. However, it doesn't necessarily have a head. But it's got 2 arms, 2 legs, and it's got all these spherical and almost clockwork designs upon the body. It bears no title. She doesn't give it any particular name. She even doesn't describe its functions. It's just various, almost like the anatomy of a human. It's the anatomy of whatever this machine is drawn upon it. And that is all you find out of these burned journals and notes.
Okay. I'm going to tuck all of that away to bring back to the Forges of Blingdenstone. See if those can be made useful, as well as the gem. I'm going to hold on to that for that purpose as well.
Sure. I imagine this probably takes you about an hour and a half after everybody else kind of just falls into a slumber, totally exhausted as you're pouring through these things. And something happens that catches your attention, but you're not exactly sure what to make of it. And that is the lighting. These kind of like evergreen glowing torches of sorts that were throughout all the rooms and halls. In about 45 minutes into your reading, begin to glow orange and then begin to glow red. And it's not like a thrumming, it's not overpowering, it's just like now everything is bathed in this light red light.
That's weird. Mood lighting, maybe?
You look over at friend and eyebrow raises.
The cat is just all stretched out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, not knowing necessarily what to make of that. Like, he doesn't know of any systems like this. Like, does the main city of Blingdenstone have anything sort of akin to this function?
Bing, bing, bing. The lighting here is exactly the same as the lights in Blingdenstone. You
And what does it
realize it
mean?
then that the lanterns are of the same exact make. You don't remember ever seeing the lights change like this, though. But they do have a green glow.
I got a bad feeling. Yeah, he doesn't like it, but he's gonna go to bed.
Okay. You tuck yourself in, you fall asleep, and hours later, as you all rise from your long rest, I imagine, Scylla, you're probably the first one up since you're the first one to conk out. Let's actually take a moment here. Scylla, you are the first one to awake.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't seem like the others are necessarily stirring yet.
Yeah.
What do you do in this time on your own, in this quiet? And you notice now that as you awake, that the lights have all turned red, and now there's almost like this very soft pulsating to them.
She would hold still for a moment and listen out for any danger, of course. When none comes, she would take a moment to switch out of her black...
Wait a minute. No danger comes? How do you know? How are you sure, Sam?
If
What if
no
the danger was already here?
Yeah. Do you want to roll for that?
Yeah, roll perception. You can't just assume there's no danger. You don't know.
You don't
know these caverns.
You don't know my campaign?
15.
15. You don't hear anything.
Wow, shocking. Glad we wasted the time on that.
just had to put you in your place.
Way to give her a moment and then immediately make it about you.
Yeah, it's just got to be sure.
Oh shit! No, it's all good. So after listening and determining there is no danger, she will switch out her plate armor. So she's gonna take off the black pearl and put on the adamantine. And then I would like to approach one of these torches. Are they hot?
No heat. But inside you see that there is like a orb of what you would assume is like clear white amethyst. However, it's glowing and like pulsating very softly with red light now.
Like the torch has a gem in it.
It's not a torch per se.
Oh,
like
sorry.
it casts enough light that when you look upon it, generally from a distance, it looks like one. However, it sits in a lantern setting, and then you can see in its base is this like 4-inch in diameter crystalline sphere that glows with light.
I think that while everyone else is sleeping, Scylla will bring the lanterns in the room, the 3 of them, it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And she will pull out the crystal from each of them.
You pull out the crystals, and immediately the light is gone. Just out.
That is strange.
However, from the hallway, you can still see that soft, pulsating red light.
If I put them back in, does it turn back on?
Yes.
Okay, so she'll put them back on. But they're no longer pulsating.
They are pulsating. They like almost light up, hold their color for a moment, and then they begin to do that soft, radiating pulsation.
Okay. Scylla is going to get out her emerald pen. She's going to write down a note for everyone that says, good morning. I have gone to take a walk. Hopefully nothing dangerous happens. If it does, leave without me. And sign Scylla.
Okay.
It was nice knowing her.
And I'm going to... I think Scylla will take a walk. Because we didn't explore that southern hallway, and she has a suspicion that something is happening here.
Sure. So you leave this bedroom, and you go to the south and start moving to the east until you reach that 3-way intersection of a sorts where you defeated the Ifrit, and you move south, and then as you move over to the west again, you come into this large room that you can see as a storeroom. You can see that there is broken crates. Some are burned, some are smashed. There's old mead and beer barrels. There are a couple of almost like picnic tables put together in the center that have who knows how old silverware and cookware upon it. You can see that there was these old shelves with long gone and mold covered different types of perhaps food. You're not entirely sure, as the growth has just become rampant. But as that is all you find here.
Okay. And the lights are doing the flickering thing the whole space.
Yep. Everywhere you've gone, that light has been doing that.
Okay. And she will listen for a moment at the doorway, and when she doesn't hear anything, she will enter.
Okay. So you move into this kind of pantry / kitchen of sorts, and you're moving about, and just like I described, you don't come across anything other than what was clearly a storage and kitchen room.
Yeah. I think she'll just, take some time to investigate the space and see if there's any, food that is useful that they can put into their rations. But she won't traverse any further on her own, and after doing all that, she will return to the group.
Okay. Just a quick investigation check for me. See if you find anything in the larder.
I got a 23.
A 23, nice.
Damn.
You do find, the equivalent of cans, but I imagine they're more of, a small... magically wax-sealed, preserved, apples and different types of, fruits and stuff like that. So pretty good eating.
Cool.
And you find 5 of those. So essentially 5 rations.
She will bring that back, and I think it probably, because it's preserved and perhaps say produce, it's probably not something they've eaten in a while, and she will pop them open for everyone to have when they get up.
Okay. Eventually,
Luxury.
you all begin to awaken, friend no longer in cat form, which I imagine Scylla just kind of picked up, and it did that classic cat thing where it's just super lank and fully stretched out like a slinky.
Did you do the stretch test?
Yeah. But eventually you all wake and you see Scylla is there, and she has all of this well-preserved fruits. I almost picture, maybe it's just because it's the holiday season and I've been making a lot of ice cream and ice cream sandwiches. I almost picture jars of pie filling. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's what you have here. It's a
yeah.
dessert almost. It's so good looking. I'm assuming you all
morning,
dig
everyone.
in.
Hell
I
yeah.
have found
Absolutely.
us this delightful tasting sweet fruit, and she will hand hand it out to everybody.
Oh, this is quite cool. I haven't had one of these in a while.
Yes, I imagine it has been down here for quite a while. I would have thought it would have grown quite a bit of different fuzziness and mold, but alas, it looks fine, and you're eating it, and you're still here.
Yeah, botulism free.
Friend is taking one of her long fingernails and is jabbing a piece of fruit in the jar and eating it off of her nail. It is quite delicious.
Hester's shoveling. He's never tasted anything this good.
Yeah.
I will say, something strange is happening with the lights.
I noticed that too. They've all gone red and ominous.
What's that? What do you think it means?
I don't know.
I don't think it can be anything good. They look like the same lighting system that Blingdenstone has.
Oh.
Say, Hester, is this
Oh.
perhaps a warning? Like
trying
a
not to-
alert system?
I was trying not to think like that. We've never had to use it in Blingdenstone before. They've always been green as long as I've known, but it's hard
But
not
if
to think
they-
that's what it might be.
Yes.
And if that's the case, I think, if we have anything quick to wrap up here, that's fine, but I think we've tarried long enough.
Yes. We
Yes,
should hurry.
I think you're right, and Artomis is going to take off, much like Scylla, he's going to take off his elven cloak and put on a robe of stars from that chest, And he'll put his trusty broken dagger away and grip the rod of absorption on his offhand.
Now, I don't believe we said it necessarily on air, all these wonderful things you guys
Oh,
found.
we didn't say the
that-
level
I don't
up
think we
either.
did.
Yes, and
Yeah.
we didn't talk about the level up, so let's take a quick moment and do that.
Mm.
Who wants to go first?
I'll do mine. It's going to be quick and easy. So, Hestor took the hammer that we found in there, which is a meteorite hammer, which is a light hammer that can be thrown. It does the regular D4 of damage, and then an additional D4 of cold damage because it like lights up. I think Will described it as almost like a comet being thrown,
Mm-hmm.
which is super cool. And Hestor took a level in fighter.
Whoa!
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
All right. How interesting.
Yeah,
Hmm.
steering a little bit in a hardier, more frontline direction.
Yeah, I can't
Yeah.
wait for that thrown hammer to be used in hand, just bashing people in the face, and you're 5
Yes.
feet closer to all my monsters. It's gonna be glorious.
I can do both.
Mhm.
All right. Who wants to go next?
I'll hop in. I took from the chest of goodies the adamantine plate, and so that's great. And then for my level up, I took a level in barbarian.
I don't care for
Finally.
it. Jeez,
I only get 2 rages.
I only get 2 ranges. You've got a 24 AC and now basically double the hit
Well,
points.
My AC did just drop because it's the black plate was a +1.
Oh.
Mm.
So it's only a 22 now, not a 23 with your
That-
shield.
Well,
And
with
it's-
my shield 22.
And it's not half damage if you hit her with things other than bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing.
That's right.
Get fancy. Use that elemental stuff, Will. Come on now.
Oh
Yeah, it's
yeah,
almost-
yeah.
it's
not
almost like
the
you have to
free-
try.
Oh.
Yeah, don't worry. Level 3, I'll take back.
Yeah. Episode 100 part 2 is not over yet. No, that's cool. And what is the reasoning behind this level up? I could see Hestor kind of like trying to be more of a stand-up guy for what little bit that he is, but what's going on with Scylla?
Had to throw that in there.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
So Scylla, I've been playing that as these, like she's been. I don't think you guys realize she's been in the pod longer than Laura ever was, and she's seen Indigo die. She's seen Sue get really messed up.
Yeah.
She's seen Sefel disappear from the group. She's seen, like, she's been here for a lot of all of this craziness, fighting a dragon, the grackle stug, like all of this. And I think she started out really pure of mind and heart, and as it's gone on, she's just kind of, she's been holding in a lot of like anger and rage, and all these things have been happening. And so now this level up is her embracing that.
Yeah. And we saw it
using that in
too
her fighting.
with that feat you took, and with the new spells, you've explained it as her becoming almost more bestial too.
Exactly.
It's very, very cool. I'm loving it.
Animalistic.
Yeah. Artemis.
Yeah. So Artemis has now donned the robe of stars in replacing his robe of elven kind. So no more advantage on stealth, but have some different passive and a few fun combat abilities. I'm also taking the rod of absorption out of that chest. Lets me suck up some spell slots. So I can now just fully use all my spell slots for smiting and have other options besides.
Very nice.
And then I have taken a second multi-class level into Rogue. He has embraced the underdark, and though he now burns bright with dawn edge's light, he's also learning to move a little faster, strike a little harder.
Let's go.
Just like the meteorite hammer, he a blinding light that crushes.
Light shines
Dark
darkest in the
man.
shadows.
I love it. All right. So yeah, just so
Hey,
our audience-
Starcaller. Sorry, real quick.
Yeah.
What you doing with that cloak?
It's really important to my packing list, actually.
All right, that's fine.
So to break it down for everybody, they found 700 gold, 60 platinum, 8,000 GP worth in gems, 3 of which were diamonds worth 1,000 gold pieces each. They found an Ioun Stone of Intellect, adamantine plate armor, the Rod of Absorption, the Robe of Stars, and Leary Skyforger's Meteorite Hammer. So this is what they've bedecked themselves with. You are freshly leveled up. And it seems like you're pretty hell-bent on trying to make back to the city as you feel these lights correspond with perhaps something going on. Is that correct? Or are you doing something
Yes.
totally different?
Can I do one last thing?
You can do as much as you want right now, Andrew.
Thank you, Will. Shut up, Brennan. I haven't had a chance to do it yet. I am going to use my spell rot tattoo to summon my owl familiar.
Ooh.
All right.
And if you're down with the just the imagery of it, I think it's gonna be like a a nice little barn owl or whatever, and it comes out like a putu, which is
Now I gotta Google this.
Potoo. It is this like big mouth, terrifying, derpy bird.
Hell yes.
That is like nocturnal and graceful as an owl sometimes, but is like the derpiest looking thing. So he's expecting it to be this like svelte raptor, and instead is like this derp machine.
I
doing
love
its
it.
best.
What is it? I thought you were for sure gonna do, the white-faced. Is it Scops Owl, which is the one that has like the 3 different ways it fends off predators? Like one, it's got like these red eyes, it can get all puffy, and then the one where it almost looks vampire-esque. I thought that was the way you were gonna go for sure.
I was like, this guy, how is he not familiar yet?
Yeah, no, this is fantastic. I love this way more.
He's just a little guy.
He's like you said, he's doing his best.
He's doing his best, and yeah, we're using the owl stat block, but that's the way it looks like.
Okay.
He's just sitting on Sarkar's like shoulder, like. Ah!
I think Friend walks up and she like extends a clawed finger and she's like, "What is this precious one's name?" You are glorious. And she starts scratching it.
Well, this is not exactly what I have in mind, but yeah, we'll still go with it. Yeah, we should call him Aquila.
Aquila.
Are owls anything like are they Underdark native?
No, I mean, no, you've never seen a creature like this
Okay,
before.
that's what
But
I
you
thought.
did see the Owlin when you guys came across that
right.
weird little figure that was peddling odd trinkets.
Stockcaller, does this creature belong to you?
I mean, so we have a working relationship, shall we say. He's bound to me through the tattoo. He looks like a terrifying bird, but technically he's a fake creature trapped inside a feathery body. We're working together. He gets snacks out of it. It's fine.
Interesting.
When did you have time to broker this relationship?
See, when I was getting the tattoo, I was actually under a mammoth amount of pain and mental anguish, in which for an eternity I bartered with this creature for its servitude.
Yeah, that tracks.
Fascinating. But a wonderful gift you have now in this friend.
I agree.
I shall find strips of food for you, perhaps somewhere.
No, that would be much appreciated.
That's actually a curious question. Do nocturnal animals get super fucked up if they end up in the Underdark?
It's like always daytime. It's always uptime. Let's go.
Yeah, it sounds like my cat who's constantly running around the house.
Zoomies, but forever.
Yeah.
We're just gonna try to go to sleep and that thing's just screaming in the corner.
And then watch Friend become one because she's now seen it and they're just both squawking all night.
if I wake up with that derp face 2 inches from my face and I stab, I can't be held responsible.
Well, first of all, don't you dare touch Aquila. Second of all, I'll just resummon him. He can't actually die.
That's fine.
What a good comforting thought. All right.
It sounds a little bit like enslavement if you dig too far into it, but we're not going to sit here and do that.
There is an agreement. We've been over this.
Do you have the intelligence to think that hard?
No, that's why I'm not going to do it.
All right. So we have Aquila now. I love it. And this kind of newly kitted out and leveled up party. How do you guys want to try to make your way back to Blingdenstone? Or do you have anything left here in the forge that you want to do?
We're just leaving this golem, huh? There's like...
I don't think it'll fit in the bag of holding.
I mean, unless you want to turn it on.
Well, that's the thing. I'm like, we have the gem. It's powered up now. I know where to put it, but I have no idea what happens when we do that, and I don't know if we have the time to deal with the consequences. So
Yeah.
Don't meta this. You don't know what's happening in the city. So, like,
no,
you've technically got all the time you want.
Will, this is not meta. This is we're afraid that there is something going on, and it's do we waste more time here or do we get back? That's full RP concern.
Okay.
No, it's just we genuinely don't know what this does. We don't know the extent. So, like, this... And also, we can always... Like, we know where this is now. We can bookmark this and come back.
Sure.
True.
So,
Starcaller, do you think a golem like this would be useful in our endeavors against the menace plaguing the Underdark?
Oh, yes, as long as it didn't try to kill us, absolutely, huge help. If it does try to kill us, well, we might have to sleep here another night.
Yeah, it might be worth getting everything back to Blingdenstone and then letting experts in forgery and craftsmanship deal with this. I would just rather move on and not fight anything else in here.
Then we should make haste. I will lead.
Okay. As you all begin to make your way out of the forge in these halls, can I have all of you make perception checks, please?
Okay.
Perception. 15.
Oh, wow.
That's it. 21.
Okay.
I got a 23.
Nice.
Damn.
23. Let's see what friend got. It is a 21. So, Starcaller, with the 23, as you guys reach that three-way intersection where the Ifrit was defeated before, you notice that there seems to be something off with one of the walls. If you were facing the forge to the east and you were looking down the hall, on the right-hand side, about halfway down, you see that it almost like part of the wall seems to be like further recessed than the rest of the wall. And these are finely carved walls, so it's kind of obvious that there seems to be like a dip there of some sort.
Interesting. Oh, did you guys see this over here? There's like a... Yeah, it's like the wall's different in a way that's intentional. He's gonna try to push on it.
You go over there and you push on it, and you just almost seamlessly and soundly, a door opens.
Oh, hey, there's a secret passage right here. Do you guys want to go see where it goes?
I don't
and you
know
see
how
that
I
there
didn't
are
see that.
stairs
I checked this
that
room like 3 times.
You see that there are stairs that descend down, and there are more of the red pulsating lanterns.
Oh.
However, where all of these halls and these rooms were finely carved, this is a rough-hewn passage.
It's almost like this is a secret tunnel back into the city.
Well, that's incredibly convenient. That's exactly where we're going.
Yeah, Deus Ex Machina, whatever the hell that is. Let's go.
All right. Aquila, to me.
My name...
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Well, Aquila has spoken. You may speak now.
I'll follow. I don't know.
So you
I don't-
begin descending
never heard
down this
Scylla, no.
staircase, heading into the tunnel. Blackout. 3 hours after the Pudding King's surprise. We see the small, squat form of Nomi Pathshutter as she waits with bated breath behind the curvature of a tunnel opening. As she peeks around the corner, she catches a glance of a large black pudding appear from a junction up ahead. She whips her head back and looks behind her to one of her fellow Stoneheart Enclave members. Her name's Veronica. Nomi nods to her and then looks across the opening to the tunnel beyond to another set of members who nod back. Behind them, they hold a yellow gem and begin to whisper to it as Veronica does the same. As Nomi peeks once more behind the corner and raises her hand into the air like a signal, the others watch with crystals close at hand. The pudding sloshes forward, reaching into the center of the junction just ahead, and Nomi's hand drops, and the others speak together as one, and from the walls surrounding the pudding, large stone fists appear and begin smashing in unison atop the ooze, followed by another rain of fists until finally the ooze becomes nothing more than a dark puddle. As we see the elemental arms retract into the earthen walls, and Nomi sprints across the way to the others. Veronica is not far behind. She pulls forth a stone from her own pocket with the image of a mouth carved into it. "You're free to move with them, Aaron." Nothing comes in response, but we hear footfalls as from one of the halls near the junction rushes forth an Enclave member with a half-dozen individuals behind them. And as the member known as Aaron points forth to the left and ushers these group members ahead, Nomi and the others come to stand beside him. Aaron turns to Nomi. "I saw Tobias in one of the tunnels coming from the caves of Clatter. He seemed wounded, but an ochre jelly got between us, and I couldn't get to him without endangering those already with me. I couldn't risk their lives." And Nomi quiets him and nods her head before telling the others to return to the Ruby in the Rough, where the rest await. She, however, turns and runs to the south towards the caves of Clatter. In a few minutes of quiet running and vigilant peering from corner to corner, more oozes as she eventually hears the labored breathing coming from a tunnel ahead. She slowly rounds the corner, her back to the wall, and the breathing becomes louder, until finally she sees a once white-robed figure with deep purple tones indicating that of the Stoneheart Enclave. However, the robe is now sullied with lots of blood. Nomi gasps, "Tobias!" To which this wounded figure rolls their head to the left to look at Nomi. "It's not my finest hour, I reckon." He coughs and then pats at what remains of his upper thigh of the right leg. Did manage to stop the bleeding for now." Nomi quickly approaches, crouches, and slides Tobias's left arm around his shoulders. I don't care if you can walk right now, because you're gonna have to." He groans but nods, and they lift together, his teeth clenched in pain, and with their twinned, labored breath under the weight, they begin moving back to the north. "I don't suppose you've got the energy for a little levitation, do you?" And he cracks open a pained eye at her. "Shut up." She wryly smiles back. "You're lucky I came for you, considering that stunt you pulled on Raymond last week." She gives him a good jostle, and he laughs with pained breath. "Yeah. Ugh. Don't know how I'll get him to forgive me for that one." And they both laugh a little as they disappear in the tunnels beyond, with the echoes of screams accompanying them. 6 hours after the Pudding King's surprise. we see our party members of Hestor, Scylla, Starcaller Friend, and Aquila racing through this underground tunnel. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours go by, and they are moving as fast and as swiftly as they can, and time continues to slip past. However, we see the somewhat bulbous form of a familiar were-rat. And many wouldn't think at first glance that Chipgrin was this capable, but he deftly cartwheels over some unfortunate souls and lands softly upon the ground with nary a sound. The slither of an ooze sounds nearby, and Chipgrin throws down a small ceramic container that his alchemists cooked up for the ooze to pick up in its path.
Enjoy what will be the worst indigestion of your miserable existence.
He chuckles to himself before skittering on ahead without the pudding being near the wiser. As he leaps and bounds around corners, swift and soundless as a shadow, he lays little traps along the way wherever he can. He hums a small tune to himself and thinks of the comfort of his chair when all this dirty business is done.
Oh, one can't know the trouble I've seen. Nobody knows.
His once rather large appearance begins to grow smaller and leaner. As with each trap placed, he pulls from his vest and from within his armor different pockets, until finally all that is left is a lean and wiry form with loose and ill-fitting clothing. As the last of his traps are placed except for one that he holds close, he comes to a halt in a tunnel nearest the openings that they had all laid for the oozes to come through first. As his body comes to a stop, he pushes his back to the wall and begins to lower down to rest on his haunches, only to look up and in surprise see a gnomish woman leaning against the other side of the tunnel. Her hand rests over her mouth as she fights back the scream that almost issued forth at being startled by his sudden appearance.
Oh, pardon me, miss. I didn't notice you there, which is quite the feat, I might add, considering who I am.
He gives a lopsided grin, and we see the gold-chipped tooth beneath. And he begins tightening the numerous belts that cover his body through his leather armor and clothing, making the once ill-fitting now drawn taut. With a pat, he checks himself all over to see that all is now as it should be, until finally pulling forth from a sheath on his back one of his trusty short swords. The eyes of the woman across from him grow large at the sight.
Don't be alarmed, my dear. This is for you to carry. This here is hush. They've never let me down. Now you're gonna use it to help yourself get back to the maze. My people and your people way. Now, just like this sword here, be there and be quiet. And follow that trail back there. You see that little satchel? Follow those. Don't touch them, though. I hate to see you blown to bits.
She's about to speak, but he puts up a large finger and shushes her. His eyes flick to the left and back to her, and she slowly turns her head to the right to see a rather odd-looking gray ooze. And it's coming from one of the large openings ahead.
Now, you be a good girl. You run along now.
She nods silently, and as she moves to the left following his trapped trail, he moves towards the opening and watches the gray ooze. He studies it and draws forth a pair of daggers, his eyes now set on the tunnel beyond. In a moment almost imperceptible to our own eyes, he leaps forth, throwing the daggers, and they sink into the ooze, and the ooze turns around, but he's already past it and into the passage beyond. As he slows and catches his breath, Chipgrin considers where they are. This area has been closed off for years and years. But considering the old maps he's found over time, he thinks he's drawing close to the old home and house of the kings and queens of Blingdenstone. His mind begins to swim with the possibilities of what treasures could lay nearby. However, as he moves into the cavern ahead, he stops short, his breath caught, and his face becomes awash with a kaleidoscope of colors. There before him sits a massive crystal orb that stands as tall as a 4-story building. But about its base swish the form of hundreds of oozes. And from a few small openings near the bottom of this orb, he can see more of their dripping forms coming from within to now join the others outside. And he realizes that the once great crystal palace of Blingdenstone's kings and queens now serves as a tank to house the thousands of oozes. Shit. You all eventually appear in front of an old stone door. You have been traveling and running for about 5 hours now. What do you do as you reach this door?
Is it just like, are there handles, or like, what is...
You don't see any handles. It almost looks like a stone wall, except now it's very finely carved on the back here, so it presents like a door.
I mean, the last one we just pushed, so maybe we could try that again.
Here, let me, and I will use my gnomish camouflage.
Camouflage.
And
I'm
sort
super loud. I'll stand back.
and I will ever so slightly try to crack the door and peer inside.
As I move you all back to the map of Blingdenstone.
Hey.
You open up a door, and as you peek in, you see the dark and somewhat familiar room of the foaming mug.
Is there anybody in here?
You see littered about this space countless fallen bodies of other deep gnomes. And you see horrible puddles of what could be blood or something else everywhere. Bodies are covered in it. Some you see, while the rest of the body is fine, you see holes of what look like melted flesh, hardly even bone remains. It looks like a massacre has happened.
Hestor leans back from the door and just turns to the others, and his regular dark gray complexion is almost completely white. And he just sinks to the floor in front of the door. Dear
Hestor, are
gods.
you... What is it?
He just keeps shaking his head.
Starcaller kind of squeezes past him and takes a look himself.
And you look out into the main room of the foaming mug, and you see everything as I described it before. The lanterns on the walls within here glow with what ones aren't shattered or destroyed with that reddish light.
Starcaller pushes fully into the room and starts looking for Jimmy.
Make an investigation check.
Yeah, Scylla will also step into the room and start to...
Can Aquila help me with this kind of thing?
Sure. Yeah, I'll give you a +1 bonus for Aquila.
Cool.
Unless you want to roll independently for them.
You know what? Actually, let's see. Who's smarter, me or the owl? Okay, it's close, but no, it is me. Cool. I'll take it. That's just a 7.
Okay. You don't spot him, but also there are so many bodies here. It's so hard to tell. especially with the state that so many of these are in as well.
This is a massacre.
Yes, we must move through these chambers. There may yet be some who have been untouched. There must be survivors.
Yes, what do you make of, and she's going to touch some of the not blood but other substance.
You touch it and it begins to like tingle on your fingertips a little bit, and like the longer you leave it on your fingers, this viscous material, it kind of burns a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. She'll immediately drop it. Do I recognize it as ooze? Because we fought them in the marketplace.
Make a nature or arcana check with advantage.
Nat 20.
Nat 20. Yeah. This is, you can see and you can tell oozes did this. However, the fact that there's like large wounds, small wounds, all sorts of ones, like almost fully dissolved individuals, you put together that this wasn't like a common ooze attack. There were somehow smaller oozes of a like that exploded within here to harm and kill all of these people.
Starcaller, this was not like what we experienced in the Trader's Grotto. It looks to me as though some of these people exploded from within. And if you look, some of these, this was not a normal attack.
I don't know what to make of this.
I do not either, but if there are others alive, we should hurry.
Yes. Fred, Hester, please, I know it is a charnel house, but we must find the survivors.
Hester sort of stumbles into the room, like supporting himself against the wall. Chipgrin knew.
I'm sorry?
What?
Chipgrin knew. This was the information he had. He knew where this was coming from. He could have said something. We didn't make peace in time.
This is horrible. I am so sorry. These were perhaps friends to you all.
Starcaller's right. Some of them had to make it. We need to find where they are.
Yeah.
Hester's just going to keep pushing out the front door.
Okay. If you guys could go ahead and move your tokens just to show me where you feel like you're going and describe it to our listeners, and give me your where do you feel like, so Hester, if you're kind of charging forward here,
I mean,
where are you trying to head to?
I think the first place that he's going to look is Diggermatic Hall. I think that, like, if there were survivors, if there was a gathering of people, if they were within the city, that's one of the first places on our way that he thinks they would be. Okay. So he's just sort of going to push out the door and start heading through the tunnels in that direction.
All right. The rest of you, are you following Hester, or are you doing anything else? You can. It's entirely up to you.
I'm definitely following, but I would take a moment to make sure everyone, like, there's no survivors here and it's all carnage.
I will say with Scylla and both Artomis is like advanced kind of like warfare-esque knowledge. Like, you've seen enough battles, and clearly if there were survivors, they're gone now.
Okay. Then yeah, I will follow behind Hester.
I should specify I'm moving stealthily. I don't know what is out here, so he's moving stealthily.
Okay.
I am not.
Yeah. I'll attempt to move stealthily as well. I'll be like marching order wise. I think it's like Hestor and then Artomis.
And then like back a ways, Scylla's bringing up the rear.
Okay.
I don't want to ruin their stealth.
Sure. I will say friend is kind of between Scylla and the rest of the group, just kind of trying to keep an eye on everybody. Can everybody roll me a stealth check then? Okay. Sam, you do not have to, since you're not trying to be stealthy.
That's good.
It just means you're being loud.
It was going to be anyway.
Okay. Thanks to good old Sverfneblin camouflage, that is a 26.
Okay. Friend got a 19. Artemis?
17.
Okay. You're being relatively quiet as you move through these tunnels between the larger caverns. However, you do hear Scylla moving farther behind you. And as you move like closer towards Diggermatic's Hall and move into Blingdenstone, you begin hearing the far off distance like wails and guttural screams of individuals now and again. You don't know where, how far, but you hear them. And I imagine it's putting like this impending sense of doom almost. The smell of blood and filth and old, smoky, stale air permeates through everything. And Hestor, when you come through and reach the cavern opening into Diggermatic's Hall, you see that there are what look like scorch marks through some of the tunnels that you've come through. You see some of the rock has been blown about. There's powder and rubble everywhere. But as you come up into this space, you manage to catch, before it notices you, that there is a very large black ooze moving around this cavernous space. And you can see it's like picking up a fallen form of a gnome and drawing it into its body, and you just see it slowly melting into its form. Just
oh God, they're still here. He's gonna sort of duck back in and signal to everybody to hold.
Hestor, what do your gnome eyes see?
God damn it.
that was good.
I'm just pissed that he's Gandalf in this equation. There's a larger ooze than I've ever seen. They're just picking off survivors. I don't know if it's wiser to fight or to keep the element of stealth here. I don't know what we do.
Yeah, let Aquila scout more thoroughly ahead.
Okay.
And I will telepathically command Aquila to stealthily make their way through the halls. Their first arc will be up to like the speaking stones and then back to me.
Okay. They travel forward beyond the pudding, which can you make a stealth check actually for the
Absolutely.
Good friend Aquila?
That's a 16.
Okay. It does in fact beat the pudding's perception. So they silently move on through the tunnels. And can you now make a perception check for me?
Absolutely. Also a 16.
Wonderful. Here's the question, because I've never had a familiar. Can you see through their eyes, or is it simply they relay back to you in some form?
Within 100 feet, I can see through their eyes.
Okay. Well, let's
Or
just
their
double
ears.
check the measurements here from there. So they can get up to the speaking stones, but they will be out of your purview of like sensing through them, because to get to the speaking stones in a straight shot, it's 282 feet.
Cool.
But they can definitely fly beyond and come back to you, and I will say that they have a means of kind of relaying to you.
Yeah. Yeah, we can telepathically communicate, so like not quite words, but
Sure. You, as they come back and land upon your shoulder, you almost get this telepathic notion of directions. Like, there's something about the walls that Aquila is trying to like communicate to you. Like there's a path, and there's something about the walls that indicates a way to travel.
Okay. Hestor, Scylla, friend, there is something about the walls here that marks a way through for us. So if we proceed ahead stealthily, we may make it to where we need to go without engaging in outright combat before we get a better lay of the land.
I just don't want to cause any chaos before we know where everyone else is.
Of course. But if danger does find us, strike hard, strike quick.
Right.
Always.
All right, let's keep moving.
After you, Hestor.
Hestor is going to push through this little under tunnel here that shoots us back up north towards the speaking stones.
Okay.
Still trying to be stealthy about it.
Yeah, if everybody can roll me new stealth checks, and Hestor roll me I will say anybody can roll this actually. Roll me perception checks as well. So stealth first, and then we'll do perception.
Nice.
I love the sound of falling dice.
Natural 20
Ooh.
for a 27.
Nice.
That is for the stealth. 23 on the perception.
Okay. What else has everybody got?
I'm very loud and I see nothing.
All right. You know nothing, Scylla. You're just anger. You're anger personified.
Anger.
Artemis, what'd you get?
So not with a natural 20, I have a 26 with my stealth.
Jesus.
Nice.
And another 16 for the perception.
Fucking
Okay.
rogues.
As you come through this
Damn.
tunnel and you resurface through the passageway going towards past the speaking stones on the left, you see that like hastily slashed on the walls are arrows with like chalk or coal, but you notice it that there
I
are
see.
arrows pointing through the tunnels that are leading to the north.
Sefel like signs to them, points to them, and is just... I said Sefel, didn't I? Hester.
Who the hell is this guy?
Who am I? No. Hester is looking at them and points.
Yeah.
Okay.
Color nods.
You begin traveling through the north until eventually, do you continue to follow the arrows, or do you make deviations at any points? Okay. You eventually make it to the reception hall. And there you see almost as bad a scene as you did in the foaming mug. There are bodies everywhere, and you can hear the like glip glorping movement and bubbling of oozes not too far away. However, you see were-rats, you see guards, you see miners, you see civilians. But there are a number of arrows leading to these like busted down doors that you all know lead to the maze. What do you do?
Before we proceed forward, does this scene look like... All of the dead bodies look like they were killed by oozes, right?
Yeah.
This doesn't look like there was infighting and the oozes just sort of took over.
No, nothing seems to indicate that. It just looks like some kind of ooze massacre.
Hester is going to... There are arrows pointing through the doors?
Yeah.
Okay. Keep following them.
As you pass through these kind of broken down doors, you move through the serpentine hallways that lead to the maze. And you see here a lot more fallen guards. Not as many civilians, but it looks like many of these forms were hastily trying to make a retreat. But all that's left is bits and pieces of rusted armor and skeletons. Like, they have been thoroughly devoured through here. And very hastily, like, you see the fallen form of one guard that was like trying to draw an arrow, but they fell, and so it just like scrawls across and then down to where their fallen hand is, until you eventually reach the larger iron and stone doors, and you can see what are like arrow slits pointing from two carved, in a sense, towers into the bedrock that point outward. And you could see that there was like the tips of arrows pointing out, but they very quickly retreat, and like you can see eyes peering forward. And from inside you can hear, "They've returned! The heroes are here! Open the gate, quick!" And sure enough, you can hear these numerous locks coming undone, and the doors begin to carve inward, and these guards are just like, get in now, quick, go, move.
In the door. Wait for the slower, somewhat louder ones behind. Don't close until Scylla's through.
And you all charge in and are immediately slapped with the smells of sweat and body odor and excrement, and you see there are people everywhere. This maze of small towers, bridges, and whatnot are covered with were-rats, regular deep gnome civilians, but you see that not too far away there is one kind of round central tower, and a figure comes forward from it, and you all recognize it as Senny. She comes out, and she is covered in soot and blood and all manner of debris. And not far behind her, you see Nomi step forward from out of this building, and then Chipgrin, who is quite thinner than before. And then from behind them, you see this old man, familiar in look, and this child with these two odd horns, this raggedy hair, and what looks like a tail as well. You see Senny, she comes forward, she goes, How did you survive? Where have you been?
What the hell are you talking about us for? What happened?
You left, and then hell came bursting forth. The Pudding King, he attacked us all.
How long ago?
Hours after you left. We have been holed up in here for 2 days. The 2 days that you've been gone. It was so sudden, and Nomi kind of puts a hand on her shoulder and steps forward. Yes, no, it was, come into the, perhaps Scylla, Artomis, this gentleman appeared to us with this child, saying that they know you. Perhaps you can take a moment and then join us inside, and we will tell you in full what has occurred. And you see Senny, Nomi, and Chipgrin retreat back into this kind of centralized tower.
But Hestor will follow them in.
I think Scylla is standing next to Starcaller, like, puzzled brows, squinting at this old man. Like, trying to figure out what is happening.
Well, they said you was... Is he standing there?
Yeah.
You said you were Sefel, but you are not Sefel. Sefel is a squid man, and you are an old human. So they're not the same thing. Why do you lie?
I forget that you never saw me like this. This was how I appeared when I came down here.
Scylla will approach this person and
You-
sniff them.
You do also see the robes are identical, and the staff is the same. He has all the accoutrement, just does not look the part.
You may look like Sefel. You may even talk like Sefel, but you are not Sefel.
I don't know how to respond. It's
It does sound a lot like Sophil.
Sefel is dead.
Yes, but then remember he wrote the note to us after he was dead.
I misspoke. Sefel is dead to me.
Oh, Artemis takes a step back.
You have every right to be angry with me. Abandoning you was not out of malice, and it was not lost on me how cruel it was. I don't think you deserve further excuses, so
I would not accept them.
fair enough. I can, if I can offer some humorous, and he beckons to the child that is with him. Don't worry, I don't reproduce demon children. You remember the egg that you were very mad I gave away?
Vividly.
Well, this is Vlad.
And you see this child, like, all of a sudden start running at you, Scylla. Like,
On guard.
sprinting. What do you do?
If a demon child is sprinting at Scylla, she's 100% drawing Caliburn.
Okay, so you draw Caliburn, and this child, like, gets very close. I imagine you're, like, pointing at them or something?
Like, interjects the staff between the two of them. Vlad, easy.
This is fully, like, Keyblade out, like...
Yeah.
prepared.
Yeah.
Tensions are high right now. I promise these are friends.
What is it?
No, I remember them. I know them. I know you. You helped me.
And then you
Vlad.
see this child begin to transform in front of your face until this gray, small dragon wormling sits on his haunches in front of you. Its scales look like molten stone of deep gray, almost perfectly tying into the surroundings around you. Its eyes are these dull, soft orange with these very dark, slit pupils. And they look at you both and go,
I was with you for a short time before I was taken by Sekarak and taught more of who Sefel was and who you all were and my own nature. But I am happy to have my family here again.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I cannot remember for the life of me. This is the egg that Sefel gave to Sekarak.
Gave to Sekarak.
indeed.
Vlad is an obsidian dragon. Perhaps the last of his kind.
But how does your son already know how to talk?
You know, there were some plot holes, and a lot of exposition was in like heavy quotation marks. I can.
Why is it odd that I can speak?
Well, because we gave you to Sekarak as an egg. Time is weird. Weeks,
Yeah,
maybe a month or two ago.
Lead-in babies take several years to gain the sort of verbosity you possess.
Well, to be fair, mammalian creatures are incredibly vulnerable and weak and squishy for far too long. It's truly a failure of evolution.
I am very much not weak. And you can see there's like flicks of flame, like this very bright flame from between their teeth.
Vlad,
kind of like,
I said mammalian, as in mammals. You would be reptilian, or draconic is more common, but I'm speaking of furry creatures and humans.
different. Yes.
Scylla's gonna stow Caliburn, and then they're a dragon right now? A wormling?
They're a wormling dragon. I put an
tall?
image of both of them up on the Discord for you guys on our resource page.
How
big?
big is a wormling?
So wormlings are medium creatures.
Okay.
So I would say wingspan, we're looking at close to 8 feet, fully outstretched. Body length from nose to tail is probably about 6 feet. Considering they look like stone, you're not exactly sure how much they weigh, but at the shoulder, they are like at the same height as probably like a German Shepherd. So pretty good sized.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yep.
But you remember the eggs were like 4 feet tall by 3 feet wide, so it makes sense that this creature is pretty large already.
Sorry if I'm skipping over your thing, Scylla, but you had a different egg when you died. Why? How did you, Vlad, have now?
Why? How now? First base? What?
Yeah. Listen, there are a lot of details that I would love to share with you.
It would be uncomfortable for you to talk about multiple betrayals, wouldn't it, Sefel?
I guess I deserve that one.
Artemis walks behind Scylla to like touch your shoulder, show support, and looks at Phil like.
This must be where my fire comes from. Looking at it, Vlad is looking at Scylla just kind of with glee.
I guess if there is another thing I have to apologize for, I underestimated the depth of emotion that you had, Scylla. I do promise my leaving was calculated, and at the time I thought it was to your benefit.
It does look like it was beneficial for some. And then she looks down at Vlad. Vlad, you remember me?
Yes, I remember not the way you looked, but your presence. We touched minds for but a moment. Did you, Starcaller?
Mind? Yes, it's a big mind, very smart. Yes.
It was something. Many large dreams I remember within you.
Yeah, that checks out. The kid's right. Oh, what were you saying, Vlad? I actually.
Yeah.
There will be a lot of time for you to be mad at me, and I will take it in stride. And there are plenty of things I hope you'll allow me to explain to you to hopefully make up some. But I'm curious what you've been doing here. I saw before I came chaos the city under siege. Starcaller was dying in a forge somewhere. You'll have to fill me in on what I've missed.
Starcaller may fill you in, but first pick a new name.
I'm sorry?
Sefel is dead. What should we call you?
If it makes you feel better, you can call me the Magician.
Yes! Yes!
I'm going to tell everyone else to call me Sefel, though.
Well, then I will not address you. But Starcaller may speak to you.
Hi.
Starcaller, good to see you.
Yes, we've done many heroic deeds since your betrayal. We now know this fancy rat man.
This fancy rat man.
Yes.
Hestor went inside, so he
Mickey
has
Mouse.
no idea who you're beckoning to.
See, he's very sneaky. He's actually invisible most of the time. It's a whole thing with him.
Oh, you have imaginary friends now as well.
Yeah, we've upgraded all of our gear. And we have unlocked several spirits of this town, and soon we will slay the Pudding King and put an end to their tyranny.
Sounds on brand.
Indeed. And yes, I did almost die. It turns out traps exist. Just as like a baseline concept.
As do pits, we learn to cope.
Yeah. This guy gets it. Alright.
Oh, shit.
Anyway, I found treasure and everyone was really jealous.
Sure.
So that pretty much sums it up. Oh, also we've been helping Blingdenstone. Have you met Jimmy? Is Jimmy around?
Is Jimmy around?
You haven't met an individual named Jimmy.
Oh, thank Christ.
You've mainly been talking with Nomi, Seni, and Chipgrin, as you kind of were quick to show that you were quite capable in helping dispatch a number of oozes when you arrived, along with Vlad as well.
I think one point that I didn't bring up, but I think at least with the leadership, who is maybe capable of compartmentalizing that information and not slaughtering me on the spot, Sefel would have communicated his true form and why he is not using it.
Sure.
But would not be showing it to the general public.
Yeah, to which they are, like, Nomi and Seni were extremely, like, yikes.
Yep.
But Chipgrin was more, however, like, how very interesting.
Yeah. Just so that doesn't come as a surprise later and the leadership doesn't slaughter me.
Sure.
But yeah, definitely maintaining the guys to not panic the population any more than they already are.
Scylla, as you've been kind of like ripping into Sefel, what's going through their mind here?
Yeah, Scylla, I think upon seeing Sefel, it was like, I think the initial feeling was, wow, it is really hard to see Sefel. It is sad and it is making me angry. And if I continue to think about it, I'm going to get really, really mad. And I don't want to get really mad right now.
Yeah.
So she's like trying to keep a lid on it.
Okay.
And so when he said, like, we'll talk about it later, she was like, yeah, that's probably for the best.
Okay. What's going through Artemis's head? I mean, they're very vocal and pretty blunt, I feel, at times, but is there any, like, undercurrent of thoughts that we're maybe not seeing?
I feel like he's not necessarily expressing it like super loudly, but he's actually pretty happy to see Sefel. He didn't know Sefel for nearly as long as Scylla did. They didn't go through the things together. So like the betrayal is much less deep. And with Artemis's past and his past allegiances, he is like a little more predisposed to be like, wow, he's actually still alive. That has not happened before.
Yeah. Sure. Wow. And then what are these two thinking about the appearance of Vlad as well?
Listen, on this, like, the scale of weird shit that happens to us in the Underdark, Vlad's, like, pretty middle of the road.
Pretty mid.
Sure.
Not what Artemis was picturing, but also, he's not an arcanist. So, like, nothing that Safel was saying to him was like, oh, that's bullshit. So, like, nope. Didn't know that one, but
I mean,
world's full of surprises.
I mean, if you look at the history of this campaign, stumbling across dragons in weird settings is sort of the most consistent thing
I
we've
know,
had.
that's
It's
And for one, it finally panned out.
yeah.
Scylla is feeling excited that she got to meet this wormling. And she's looking forward to getting to know them. However, she's being petty and doesn't want Safel to know that she's happy about it.
Sure.
On a very selfish level, and maybe I should save this question, but I'm not going to. Like, does the fact that Vlad is here sort of heal any of the, like, heal the anger about giving him up? Or is
Like,
it
okay,
still...
you might have done one thing right, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so that tiny little bit, like, of
Yeah,
anger
right.
gets erased, but, like, there's still
Right,
this
right.
pile.
But I'm still gonna say it doesn't.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, I'm so sorry I haven't taken out the trash in weeks, but I brought you your favorite box of chocolates. to
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
up for it
As
in
you're
this moment.
sitting
Yeah.
amongst the trash bags.
Yeah, right. Oh,
Ooh,
man.
yeah. Yep. Okay.
That was
So
several
go ahead.
mistakes ago, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah. So many.
It's almost been trumped by all the other ones.
I
I
think Scylla's personality is very much like she does not forget.
Yeah. Especially with all this anger that has now kind of come to be harnessed within you,
Right.
manifesting in this barbarian level.
She's ready to rage.
Yeah. I love the choices that you guys have been making with that. So you've had this moment, you've got Vlad in front of you who now semi-polymorphs into almost a full human-looking child. Do you guys continue to kind of hash it out here with Safel, or what are you guys thinking of here?
I think once there's like a sizable lull in the conversation and we get like that baseline of understanding, it's like, okay, well, let's go see what the
Yeah.
the main players are talking about here, because we came here for a reason. We have a king to dethrone.
Sure.
Yeah, Hestor has been in the tower with the leadership. Like, he very quickly wanted the full download of, like, what happened, what's going on in the city, what's the status, how can we be helpful? So he would have been glued to them.
So you all eventually kind of tentatively agree to circle back to Safel's reappearance and Vlad's appearance once the situation at hand has been resolved. And as you all enter into the small tower here, you see that there's a very large table. There's a number of small fires going to keep heat, and a couple of guards like come forward. They're like, do you need anything to eat and drink? Like, we don't have too much, but we do have like some water and some bread. But you see that Seni, Nomi, Chipgrin, and now Hestor, and very tentatively Friend, who's kind of like hiding in the corner but inquisitive as to what's going on, are now hunched over this very large table. And upon it, you see pieced together maps that, as you approach, Seni kind of looks up and goes, well, has everybody exchanged pleasantries for the moment?
We said hello. Was it pleasant? Less.
Yeah,
I see.
I think Safel is strategically, like, on the opposite side of the table, and he's going to be sort of keeping mostly quiet, other than just like strategic talk.
Sure. How does Starcaller come into seeing all of this?
I feel like for Starcaller, this is great. This is what he understands. This is a war room. This is much more comfortable grounds for him than the like emotion-laden conversation that was happening outside.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can see, like, there are different figures, and while this map is like an assortment of different maps that have been torn and kind of pieced together, you can see that there's little figures and like cups representing, the various people within Blingdenstone. And Senny goes, 2 days ago, shortly after you left the city, a voice called out to us all, proclaiming themselves to be the Pudding King, to which we have now been informed that is exactly the individual Chipgrin wished to speak with us about. A former miner here within the city that came with us when we came to reclaim the city. They feel they have been, or had been, thrown to the wayside by perhaps myself and she kind of pauses, husband. And so have perhaps found a way to control or manipulate the oozes that I'm assuming you all saw outside. They launched a full-scale attack, and as hard as we tried and close to what we felt was a victory, we were taken by surprise when he called forth again, and many of us turned out to be oozes of some sort in disguise that then exploded or lashed out and killed so many of us. You could not tell who was friend or foe. And so in the panic and the anarchy, many fled. We eventually gathered what we could in the hall to regain order before quickly realizing that the oozes were still coming, and only within the last number of hours have the last of us gathered here within the maze, and we are doing everything we can to keep them out. As you can see here, we have pieced together from various both ancient and new maps of what the city's inner workings are. And with some very kind surveillance from Chipgrin, to which he kind of nods and points to, and Chipgrin kind of cocks a smile to you all, we have managed to put together what we believe to be the setting. And if you're all going to look at Roll20, I'm going to fully reveal the rest of the map. So there is all of the rock blight, all of the rat warrens, and then just beyond the trader's grotto, you can see on this map this circular orb-like depiction, and perhaps the largest cavern except for that of the maze. And you can see that there appears to be, like, on the map, hastily drawn ruins up in the top right corner of our map on Roll20, and then there's kind of caverns beyond. And you can see marks where they had done barricades and collapsed tunnels. You can see markings of where they had put traps. And Cinny goes, Chipgrin has found that in the ancient king and queen household, which was a large crystalline orb carved here within the city, as you can see here, and she points at the map, and if you're looking at Roll20, kind of hard to miss the giant orb on the map. She goes, Chipgrin has discovered that it is entirely filled with hundreds, perhaps, if not thousands of oozes that seem to be resting there, coagulating, mixing. It is horrifying, to say the least. Now, it does not appear that there is a set patrol of any kind by the Pudding King or his oozes. They are acting like ravenous animals. They patrol at random. We have tried in many ways to ascertain if there was a pattern, and there is none. However, there have been a series of other blocked tunnels, and unfortunately we only have this information due to the sacrifices of others. There is a small cavern far to the the eastern side of the city that has been barricaded off. Now, far to the north, beyond the king and queen's chambers, there was once what we believe were pens and agricultural uses. The deep growth were kept there long, long ago, and there were once statues as well that honored some of our early gods. Now that seems to hold a handful of stronger looking oozes of a sort. But what lies beyond in this smaller area, and if you're looking at Roll20 again, where I'm pinging, she goes, we cannot access that area, and we have seen no signs of the Pudding King, so we believe that through the ruins of the old Roth Pen, we might find a way of blasting through and into that space beyond where they are most likely hiding. However, any forces we have are ill-equipped to make such an infiltration. And she kind of gets shy for a moment, which Nomi pipes up and she goes, we were thinking of establishing a small group, one that could perhaps make their way there in secret to infiltrate into what could be perhaps the throne room of the Pudding King, while the rest of us caused a large enough distraction and fight to draw the rest of the oozes away. And we weren't quite sure, and Chipgrin pipes up, he's like,
they're beating around the bush. We had hope, beyond all hope, that you would survive, and that you would come forth, and perhaps, through the great age you have already served this city, be our champions. So we would ask, would you, as a favor to us, we would be forever in your debt, attack and rid us of this horrible king.
Well, you have made us an offer we cannot refuse.
Nice.
Yes.
And to be perfectly honest, I have always wanted to commit regicide, so...
It is a beautiful thing, young Starcaller. I have done it myself many times. I will show you my collection of crowns in the future, should you survive.
Excellent.
I would like to see that collection, but
Well, you'll have my axe.
And Hestor steps forward. And my bow.
I'm not continuing this.
And then Hestor didn't say anything to the main characters for the rest of the series.
I have seen one city fall to a demon prince already, and I will die before I see another.
Hestor
I will
does.
contribute.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Hestor does.
so it whips around. You shut your fucking mouth, rat!
Hands him across the room. I struck out from the colony and came into the main city hoping to be of aid and hoping to bring Blingdenstone back to glory. I did not know how far it would fall afterwards, but I will still give life and limb for that cause.
Cinny kind of nods, and Chipgrin actually puts a hand on your shoulder and gives you a pat. He goes,
You are a good man, Hestor. A good man. Now, let us devise how we will make this distraction, and how we will get you to the Pudding King's throne.
and that's where we'll leave it this week.
Ooh-wee! That was a wild ending on that one, but you know what? We're glad you're here.
we are rapidly getting close to 100 episodes, and it is great to have you here in the outro. Couple quick things. Don't forget to check out our YouTube channel. We are publishing all of our episodes out to YouTube so that you can actually watch us playing the game instead of just listening. And then if you want to hop over in our Discord, we've got all sorts of people in there talking about the podcast. And, you know, we're also talking about Baldur's Gate, because Baldur's Gate is out right now, and we're all loving it. And then we've got maps up in the Discord channel, some extra content with some other things. And if you have questions for us as players, we've got a little channel in there that you could submit for the bonus action segments. So really loving that. We hope to see you there. You can find all of our links at linktree.com/themadnesstable. And I think that's it. So we'll see you next time when...
The madness continues.